My name is Charlotte Hensley. I'm 32 years old. 3 days ago, I sat in a lawyer's office, read one piece of paper, and laughed so hard the attorney stopped writing and asked if I needed water. My parents had not spoken to me in 2 years. No birthday cards. No holiday text. Nothing. Then suddenly a lawyer sent me one document. They wanted my signature so they could sell my grandfather's lake house. The only place that had ever truly felt like home. That paper was supposed to take something from me. Instead, it gave me something my family never had. Proof that someone believed I was worth protecting. Before I tell you what happened, take a second to like and subscribe if you enjoy stories like this. And tell me where you're listening from. Now let me take you back to the Thanksgiving dinner that destroyed my family. I grew up outside Millbrook, Georgia, in a small town where everyone knew everybody. My father, Edmund Hensley, managed the local bank. He wore pressed shirts to church and shook hands like he was running for office, the kind of man who could turn a 2-minute hello into a campaign speech about interest rates. My mother, Margaret, led Bible study groups and organized church dinners. From the outside, we looked like the perfect family. Then there was my younger sister, Vanessa. She was 3 years younger than me and always came first. Vanessa got piano lessons. I got, maybe next year. Vanessa got a car for her 16th birthday. I got a bus pass. And honestly, I became an expert on the Route 9 schedule, which is not a skill anyone puts on a resume. Vanessa had the big bedroom because she needed space. I slept beside the laundry room and learned to ignore the sound of the washing machine at midnight. To this day, the smell of fabric softener makes me sleepy. My parents never screamed at me. They never hit me. That almost made it harder. They just treated me like the child who needed less. Whenever I questioned it, my father always said the same thing. Vanessa needs more help. You're the strong one, Charlotte. I believed him. For years, I wore strong like a medal. I worked double shifts at a diner during high school. I bought my own prom dress. Paid for my own books. It took me years to realize what strong really meant to him. Meant low maintenance. It meant she won't complain. It meant she can survive without us. I was the first person in my family to graduate college. I earned a degree in accounting while working 25 hours a week at a tax office. For 4 years, my life was alarms before sunrise. Classes all day, work at night. No help. No cosigner. Just me. My parents promised they'd come to graduation. My mother even picked out her outfit. Saved 4 seats. 2 for my parents. 1 for Vanessa. 1 for Grandpa Walter. Walter Hensley was the only person in my family who never treated me like an afterthought. The morning of graduation, my father called. Something came up, he said. Vanessa was moving into her apartment and needed help with furniture. I stood there in my dorm room holding my graduation clothes while my mother yelled in the background asking where the tape gun was. It's just a ceremony, she said. You already have the degree. I walked across that stage alone. Afterward, I sat among strangers taking my own graduation pictures with my phone balanced on a bench. That afternoon, Grandpa Walter called. I'm proud of you, Charlotte, he said. His voice sounded rough, like he was trying not to cry. Then he said something strange. And don't worry. I already took care of it. I thought he meant a graduation gift. I had no idea what he really meant. Not until 7 years later. I met Marcus Coleman when I was 26. He was wiring the office building where I had just started working. I heard him singing Otis Redding before I ever saw him. Off-key, completely committed. Absolutely no shame about it. Marcus was an electrician who ran his own small business out of an old van with Coleman Electric. We get you lit, hand-painted on the side, a slogan I have begged him for years to change. On our 3rd date, he brought me wildflowers from a gas station because the flower shop had already closed. I didn't want to show up empty-handed, he said. I loved him immediately. We got married 2 years later at the courthouse. Grandpa Walter had passed away by then. Every happy moment still felt smaller without him. My parents came to the wedding, but only briefly. A week later, during family dinner, my father looked across the table at Marcus. I thought you'd aim higher, Charlotte, he said calmly. An electrician. That's a downgrade. My mother stayed quiet. Vanessa kept scrolling through her phone. Marcus didn't react. But on the drive home he stared at the road and said softly, "I don't need your father to respect my job. But he should respect you." I almost cut my family off right then. But I kept trying because part of me still hoped things would change. Then Thanksgiving happened. 15 relatives packed into my parents' house. Music played. People laughed. Someone kept refilling sweet tea like it was their calling in life. Vanessa pulled me into the kitchen. She needed $8,000. Again. She still hadn't paid back the last 2 loans. This time, she claimed it was for inventory for the boutique she wanted to open. Said no. Politely. Clearly. She walked back into the living room with tears in her eyes. My father stood up immediately. "What kind of sister refuses to help family?" he asked loudly. The whole room went silent. My aunt froze beside the punch bowl, ladle hovering mid-air like a cartoon character caught in the act. My cousin Bridget stared at me with wide eyes. "You've changed, Charlotte," my father said. "Not for the better." Then my mother leaned toward my aunt and whispered just loud enough for everyone to hear. "She's been like this since she married that man. I think she needs professional help." Nobody defended me. Nobody. I stood there feeling completely invisible. Then I grabbed my coat. Marcus was already waiting at the door with the car keys. And I walked out of that house for the last time. The silence afterward was strange. First, it almost felt peaceful. No guilt. No family drama. No phone calls asking me to save Vanessa from another bad decision. But silence also gives people space to rewrite the story. And my parents did exactly that. They told everyone I was unstable. They said Marcus was controlling me. My cousin Bridget called one day and carefully asked if I was okay. "Your mom said you've been having episodes," she whispered. Episodes. I had never even seen a therapist. My mother invented the whole thing. My father even called my old boss to check on me. In a town that small, rumors spread fast. One by one, people stopped calling. Relatives stopped texting. Birthday messages disappeared. By spring, Bridget was the only family member who still spoke to me. Marcus and I moved 45 minutes away. Far enough to breathe. Close enough that I could still drive back if I ever wanted to. I got promoted to senior accountant. Marcus's business grew. He finally repainted the van, though he kept the slogan which I've made peace with. We bought a small house with a porch and a backyard. It was quiet. It was peaceful. And every Thanksgiving I still stared at my phone wondering if someone would call. Nobody did. One night I asked Marcus if I made the wrong choice. He didn't hesitate. "You'll know if you're ready someday," he said. "And if that day never comes, that's okay too." Once, I drove past Grandpa Walter's lake house. The paint was fading. The dock leaned slightly toward the water. I slowed down but never stopped. Hurt too much. Everything about that place reminded me of him. The smell of cedar. The old screen door. The chocolate milkshakes he bought me every Friday after school. 2 years passed. Then one Tuesday morning a letter arrived. A law firm's return address. My name typed neatly on the front. The envelope sat on the kitchen counter for 2 days before I opened it. If you've ever cut contact with family and suddenly gotten a letter from them, you know the feeling. That cold drop in your stomach. I opened it Thursday morning while Marcus was at work. The letter explained that my father planned to sell the lake house. Because I might be an heir, they needed me to sign a quitclaim deed giving up any rights to the property. That was it. No apology. No "how are you?" Just paperwork. Quick side note for anyone who isn't familiar. A quitclaim deed doesn't actually prove someone owns a property. It just transfers whatever interest a person might have, if any. Signing one when you're not even sure what your rights are is like signing a blank check and hoping the number stays small. My father was betting I wouldn't know that. I stared at the letter for a long time. Then my eyes drifted to a wooden tackle box sitting on a shelf above the stove. Grandpa Walter's tackle box. Inside it was an envelope I had kept for 7 years. I found it after his funeral. The front said, "For Charlotte. When you need it." I had never opened it. That night I finally did. Inside were two things. The first was a legal document. An irrevocable trust. The property listed was the lake house. The sole beneficiary was me, Charlotte Hensley. An irrevocable trust, for anyone unfamiliar, is a legal arrangement where once assets are placed inside it, the person who created it generally can't take them back out or change the terms. That's exactly what made it so powerful here. Grandpa Walter hadn't just written a wish into a will that could get contested. He'd locked the house away where nobody, not even himself, could undo it. The second item was a handwritten letter from Grandpa Walter. Charlotte, I know your father means well, but he doesn't see straight when it comes to your sister. This house is yours. It's always been yours. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Grandpa W. I sat on the bedroom floor and cried. Not the kind of crying that destroys you. The kind that heals something. He saw everything. Before the Thanksgiving dinner. Before I stopped answering calls. Before any of it. He knew. And he protected me anyway. When Marcus came home, he found me sitting on the floor surrounded by papers. He didn't speak. He just sat beside me. The next morning I called the attorney listed on the trust, Mr. Whitcomb. The trust is valid, he confirmed immediately. Your father has no legal ownership of that property. Then I called the lawyer who sent me the quitclaim deed. Asked for a meeting. For the next 5 days I prepared. Not emotionally. Like an accountant preparing for an audit. Every document organized. Every record checked. I verified county filings. I confirmed the trust existed before Grandpa Walter died. That meant the lake house never went through probate. My father had never owned it. He only assumed he did. Quick fact, since I live and breathe this stuff. Probate is the court process that sorts out a deceased person's assets if they're still in that person's name alone. Because Grandpa Walter had already moved the lake house into the trust while he was alive, it skipped probate entirely and went straight to me, quietly, with no courtroom drama required. The night before the meeting, Bridget called. Your dad's in trouble, she whispered. Vanessa's boutique was failing. My father had co-signed huge business loans. Then he refinanced his own home to keep her store alive. He owed nearly $240,000. The lake house sale was supposed to save him. And he told everyone you'd sign, Bridget said quietly. He said you always cave when family needs you. Friday morning I drove back to town. The drive felt like muscle memory. Past the gas station where Grandpa bought milkshakes. Past my old school. Past streets filled with old memories. The law office sat above a dental clinic downtown. The receptionist looked at me with polite sympathy, like she already knew a version of the story. I sat down and checked my folder one last time. Trust papers. Certified copies. Grandpa Walter's letter. Everything ready. At exactly 10 o'clock, the lawyer opened the conference room door. Ms. Hensley. I walked inside, and there sat my father. Edmund looked exactly the same. Pressed shirt. Straight posture. The same calm expression that always made him seem in control. Hello, Charlotte, he said gently. Stop. Then looked at the attorney. I thought this was a meeting with your office. Your father requested to attend, the lawyer explained. I sat across from Edmund. He smiled like we were discussing weekend plans. Let's handle this quickly, he said. Then he launched into his speech. The house was empty. Nobody used it. The sale would help the family. Your grandfather would have wanted this. That line hit me the hardest. He used Grandpa Walter's name to pressure me. Again. The lawyer slid the quitclaim deed toward me. I read every word slowly. Then I looked up. You haven't asked how I'm doing, I said. My father blinked. What? This is the first contact in 2 years, and it came from a lawyer. We tried to reach you, he replied. My number never changed. The room got quiet. Finally my father sighed. I'm not here to revisit the past, he said. I'm here to handle property. And if I don't sign... His jaw tightened. Then this becomes complicated. The same phrase he always used whenever someone challenged him. Don't make things difficult. I asked why nobody told me about the sale directly. That's when he changed tactics. She cut us off, he told the lawyer sadly. She's been struggling. There it was again. The unstable daughter story. Then he added quietly, her husband can be controlling. I felt something inside me go completely still. 2 years later. Same script. Same lies. I looked at him. Are you done? Yes. He froze. Then his phone buzzed. He answered immediately. Vanessa's voice spilled loudly through the speaker. Did she sign yet? My father covered the phone. I'm handling it. But Vanessa kept talking. Just tell her it's for the family. She always caves when you say that. The room went dead silent. My father ended the call, face turning red. I repeated the words quietly. She always caves when you say that. The lawyer stopped writing. And suddenly the whole performance cracked open. My father stood up. Sign the paper, Charlotte. I stayed calm. You told my husband he was a downgrade. That was a joke. It wasn't funny. He slammed both hands on the table. You hold grudges, he snapped. Your mother was right. You need help. The lawyer tried calming him down. Then my father threatened legal action. A judge will force you to sign. I looked at the lawyer. Can he do that? The lawyer hesitated. There are legal avenues. Okay, I interrupted. Then I reached into my bag. I pulled out the trust documents and placed them on the table. The room changed instantly. This is an irrevocable trust created by Walter Hensley, I said. The sole beneficiary is me. My father stared at the documents. What is this? The lawyer grabbed the papers immediately. He read page after page, then removed his glasses slowly, and looked directly at my father. Were you aware of this trust? That can't be right, Edmund whispered. The lawyer pointed to the filing date. The property had been transferred years before Grandpa Walter died. That meant the lake house never belonged to my father. Ever. Where did you get this? Edmund asked. Grandpa Walter. He would never do this to me. I held his gaze. He didn't do it to you. He protected me. The lawyer called Mr. Whitcomb on speakerphone. Whitcomb confirmed everything. The trust was legal. The property belonged to the trust. I was the sole beneficiary. The quitclaim deed meant nothing. The lawyer finally turned to my father. We need to stop this meeting immediately. Then he added carefully, if you promised the buyer clear ownership of this property, you may have created a legal problem. That's when my father finally cracked. He sat down heavily. And for the first time in my life he looked small. Not angry. Not powerful. Afraid. If I can't sell that house, he whispered, your mother and I could lose ours. The truth spilled out after that. The loans. The refinance. The debt. Everything. I listened quietly. Then I asked the question I'd carried my entire life. You risked everything for Vanessa, I said. Did you ever once think about me? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Then he said something that almost broke my heart. He would have wanted us to stay a family. I answered softly. He would have wanted you to be a father to both your daughters. Nobody spoke after that. The lawyer gathered his papers. The meeting ended. As I reached the door, my father finally spoke again. Charlotte. Stop. For 1 second, I saw flashes of the old version of him. The dad who taught me to ride a bike. The dad who carried me through the rain after I lost my shoe in the mud. That man existed once. He just disappeared somewhere along the way. You know my number, I said quietly. It never changed. Then I left. I sat in my car afterward with my hands on the steering wheel. I didn't feel victorious. Just exhausted. But it wasn't over. Instead of going home, my parents drove straight to the lake house. Bridget called me that evening. Your mom, dad, and Vanessa are staying there, she said nervously. They say it's still family property. I called Whitcomb immediately. He stayed calm. They cannot legally occupy trust property, he explained. If they refuse to leave, we file trespassing paperwork. Closed my eyes. I don't want my father arrested. Then hopefully he makes a smarter choice. Saturday morning, Vanessa posted pictures online from the lake house. Family time at Grandpa's place. Some things are worth fighting for. In one photo, she sat in Grandpa Walter's green chair on the porch, the one he built himself, the one I helped sand when I was 10. I stared at that picture for a long time. Relatives flooded the comments. Nobody mentioned me. Nobody asked where I was. By Sunday, Whitcomb sent an official notice demanding they leave within 72 hours. Suddenly, this wasn't family drama anymore. It was legal. Monday morning, my mother called me. She sounded exhausted. "Please," she whispered. "This is tearing the family apart." I sat silently on the edge of my bed. Then I finally said what I should have said years ago. This didn't start with the trust. My mother tried guilt instead. "Your grandfather would hate this. I have a letter from him saying otherwise." Silence. Then quietly, bitterly, she said, "You've changed." I looked at Marcus beside me. "I hope so," I replied. They left the lake house Monday afternoon, just before the deadline. I waited another week before going there myself. When I finally arrived, the sky was gray and quiet. The front door was unlocked. Inside smelled like old pine and dust. My mother had cleaned the kitchen before leaving. Everything was neat. On the table sat one key. Beside it, a short note in my father's handwriting. "This was never about the money, Dad." I folded the note and slipped it into my pocket. Then I walked down to the dock. Grandpa Walter's chair still faced the water. I sat down slowly. The lake was completely still. For the first time in years I felt calm. The financial damage hit my father hard after that. Without the lake house sale, Vanessa's boutique collapsed. The business closed within months. My father sold his truck, pulled money from retirement early, lost years of savings. In a small town, everyone eventually learned the truth. Trust records tied to real estate become part of the public record once filed with the county. So it didn't take long before people started asking questions. Why didn't Edmund know about the trust? Why did Walter leave the house to Charlotte? And suddenly the unstable daughter story stopped making sense. My father stopped attending community breakfasts. My mother stopped running Bible studies. People weren't whispering anymore. They were comparing facts. Vanessa eventually texted me. "I'm sorry for what I said that day," she wrote. I didn't answer immediately. But I didn't delete the message either. Then relatives slowly started returning. Not everybody. Some people still believed my parents. Others disappeared completely. I stopped chasing approval. People who wanted the truth found it. People who didn't stayed comfortable in the lie. And finally that stopped hurting. Marcus and I began fixing up the lake house together. Fresh stain on the dock. New screens on the porch. New wiring inside. Done properly this time, no off-key singing required, though he still hummed the whole time. One afternoon, I found Grandpa Walter's woodworking tools hanging neatly in the garage, exactly where he left them. Then I found an old box of photographs. One picture showed 6-year-old me holding a fish almost bigger than my arm. Grandpa Walter stood behind me laughing. I stared at that picture for a long time. That's when I finally understood. He didn't just leave me property. He left me proof. Proof that somebody saw me clearly. Not as the strong one. Not as the easy child. Not as the daughter who needed less. Just Charlotte. Someone worth protecting. I framed the picture and hung it in the kitchen. A month after the meeting, I wrote a letter to my parents. Not through lawyers. Not through Bridget. Just me. I told them the lake house would stay in the trust. I told them I would not sell it. And then I wrote the most important thing. If we ever rebuild this relationship, it starts with honesty. Starts with you seeing me. Not as the strong one. Not as the daughter who can survive without love. But as your daughter. My door is open. But only if you come through it as parents, not people looking for something from me. I mailed the letter. And for the first time in my life, I didn't wait for approval afterward. Marcus read the letter before I sent it. Then he smiled softly. That sounds exactly like you. I used to think boundaries were walls. Something angry people built to keep others out. Now I think boundaries are doors. You decide who gets to walk through. And you stop leaving them open for people who only visit when they need something. One Friday afternoon, I sat on the dock holding Grandpa Walter's old fishing rod. The lake was calm. Marcus was inside making coffee. The breeze smelled like cedar and grass. I hadn't caught a single fish all day. I didn't care. Sometimes I still talked to Grandpa Walter in my head, like he just stepped out of the room for a minute. I looked across the water and smiled. Thank you, I whispered, because now I finally understood what he meant all those years ago. My name is Charlotte Hensley. I'm 32 years old. 2 years ago my parents sent me one legal document. But that document didn't give me anything new. It only reminded me that someone had already decided I was worth protecting. And in the end that changed everything. If you made it this far, thank you. This story was never about revenge. It was about finally understanding your worth, even when the people closest to you refused to see it.